Is this one here?
Top of the top line.
That's very kind. I forgot which one's to be down. Right, meeting of the Town Council Estates Committee to be held on the 26th of November 2009 at 7:30 in the Barnwell Rooms. The public shall be admitted to all meetings of the council, which may, however, temporarily exclude the public by means of a resolution due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted, Standing Order 3D. Representations from interested parties at the chairman's discretion. A period of no longer than 10 minutes will be allocated to members of the public to address the meeting about items on this agenda. The meeting will be adjourned for this purpose. Standing Order 3E and 3F. We have no members of the public, so we don't have to do that.
We've got to that bit, yeah.
Have we not?
We've got apologies for absence.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't got to that bit.
He's just reading out the
He's only read the top.
Val said read from the top and reading from the top.
All right.
Address as well.
Right, apologies for absence.
None.
No.
Right, declarations of interest. To receive and consider any declaration of interest from members under section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Order 13.
I'm a resident of St Christopher's Drive, which comes up later on, but there's nothing to resolve on it. So.
Declare any disclosable in pecuniary interests. To declare any other interests. No?
No.
Right, well, representation, you're right. There is a representation from interested parties. That's EM 19-101. 102, minutes of the previous meeting. I wasn't here that night, so can somebody approve them and second it?
I'll say no.
Opposed, Terry?
Lovely.
Terry.
So I can now sign them, can't I?
Yeah.
No, I can't sign
We
them.
haven't had a vote of.
Oh, sorry. Everybody in favour?
Yeah.
I like to get things done quickly. So. Am I allowed to sign this even though I wasn't here?
No,
Ian? There you go, Ian. You can sign
Just at the bottom.
No, bottom of each one, then date the last one, please.
Date tonight.
Yeah.
26.
Don't forget, if you're not registered to vote, you've only got till midnight tonight.
Oh, right, okay.
Just in case, you never know, if somebody here that's not voting, on the electoral register. Right, so the next one is to discuss and adopt the new Estate Management Committee meeting format to include standard items each month as per suggestion of the last EMC meeting. Now, we do have in your pack a format for this. Can we have your comments, please?
Well, I did ask a lot of other information, which actually at the last finance meeting and the last council meeting, we got all I asked for. So I need to discuss the income and expenditure on these three items. I do think we need more information. But let's go through the other things and then I'll talk about that.
Okay. So, Fletton House. Should we have a standing order again for that?
Yeah.
The hub, although we don't own the Fletton House, it's not part of our estates, is it?
Flattened houses?
It is.
Oh, this is Fletton House. I'm thinking Fletton Fields. Sorry, it's been a very hard day. Fletton House. The hub.
I have actually seen the title
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the land registry for this, so yes, we do.
Right.
Yeah.
The hub.
Well, I think we all have all these
Yeah.
apart from QVA.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Don't need to go through.
Yeah.
You don't want to do QVA.
And they're not in any particular order, it's just that they keep
Well,
recurring.
QVH we're not allowed to do apparently. That's another thing we talked about in the last QVH
Yeah, I know.
meeting, and no decision was made about them as far as I can see. I certainly don't think it should be, these sort of matters should be considered by the whole council, because we just get a lot of, there's no focus there. Everybody comes up with their ideas and it's all forgotten about.
Yeah.
Better to have some focus, I think, to go to the meeting with.
Isn't it?
I think we have to discuss it in here,
Yeah.
and I think we need to find a way around the trustee bit.
Yes,
So
I-
if we, Arundel Town Council, are custodians of the fabric and...
Put it on the agenda and declare an interest and the job's done.
So we can discuss it, we don't need to.
So like, you know, when we do the pipe in the boiler and so on, we can't wait for every 4 months or have a full
No,
council
exactly.
meeting, it's decided in here.
Although Emma did suggest if you want more regular Queen Victoria meetings, they could be.
But we
It's
don't.
in here. It's, you know, it's 15 minutes in this meeting.
Mm.
It doesn't
Okay.
need to get everybody together.
Well, should we call it?
And who's going to do anything if we don't, if it's not strictly the right procedure? Nobody's going to sue us or do anything, are they? So,
Should we call it the QVH Working Party meeting?
No.
No.
Working
But
Party.
put it on the agenda item in this meeting.
As a
Okay.
property
Yes,
that
just-
we manage.
Obviously, the courthouse that.
We still manage it day to day.
Should we call it QVH Fabric?
Yeah.
well, no, just QVH. Like-
Yeah.
QVH fine, that's
Yeah.
good, that's right.
All the other-
Without question marks.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Okay.
Right, then all the other things are really basically
Yeah.
standard,
Yeah.
aren't they?
So,
we've got,
yeah, go on, sorry.
sorry,
Yeah.
other matters as normal, so I know that everything else comes up, we've got that. And then there's, should there ever be nothing to report?
That was just in case under Fletton House, so there was nothing to report. At least we've just put nothing to
Nothing to
report.
report.
And at least we've considered it and
Is there any other things you might want to put on that?
Well, just what we're going to discuss under each of these, I think the accounts is good. We need that QVH stuff in here. I also think we should do, maybe Lisa can present a review of what's been happening in each of these places.
Mhm.
And in particular, what the lettings have been, who they've been letted to, and at what rate. So,
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I mean, if we've got the information here, when the full council.
and what's being done to promote the place, because that's another thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's all right,
But
carry
I
on.
am concerned with what's going on in the town about letting rooms here and making sure we're actually pushing forwards so we retain them and this building doesn't become an expensive white elephant. So,
No, I agree. Part of what I want to talk to Ian about marketing is something that the QVH and the hub could do together and or separately.
and Fletton House, no rooms here.
Sorry, I meant Fletton House. I'm talking.
But no,
Unfortunately,
that's right,
the hub is the cafe, which would actually have to be involved in the idea I've got in Fletton House and the QVH. So I'll firm that up more. I haven't had time to actually firm it up. I've got a big picture in my mind about what I want to do. It's just what I want to think, the committee to think about. But I'll bring it back when I've got a more
Well, maybe that should
rounded figure.
That maybe should be the next meeting.
So
That should be the next meeting, maybe, when you thought it through.
yeah, hopefully I'll have more detail, and then it'll have to go to full council because obviously we can't make that decision here.
No.
But it will be something I hope might prove profitable in the longer term.
But in the meantime, let's get that information I asked for on the agenda, so it's brought in next time.
Oh, I think I agree with entirely, Mark. I mean, all the information we can have is going to save time at the full council meeting as well, because we'll know.
Well, we've got
what to talk
focus,
about.
haven't we? So we tell.
We
give
tell
our
the
advice
full
to
council.
the council.
Yeah, exactly. Terry.
We've not finished the budget yet. And,
No, I know, we're still doing that.
we don't have to approve anything till after Christmas. But at the moment, I can tell you that there's only £5,000 in marketing for next year. So when you're doing your grand plan,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
You see, this is the problem with all plans. Unfortunately, you have to spend to make money. You can't do it on a shoestring. This has got to be done properly. If it's not done properly, it won't work.
no, you'll get an argument from me on that. I'm just saying that's what's in the budget at the moment.
Well,
We can change it to 50,000 or
speak to
500,000.
speak to Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corbyn. Oh, no.
No, listen, anybody who votes for Corbyn in this room ought to be undrawn and unquartered, especially after he's
Keep going.
No, anyway. And I'm not a conservative either. I can't vote for that idiot either. Anyway,
In a rock and a hard place. This
yeah, I am, I tell you. It's a dreadful situation to be in because I've always been a socialist. So, right, Okay, so, sorry, we went off.
You have.
So I want
You've got
a
one.
proposer and a seconder, please, for this new
Can we
format.
have a proposal, please?
So it's not second.
Can I just one item under this then, is 3 or 4 of the items in there are commercial properties where, you know, that little discussion we had there comes into them. So underneath that agenda item, you've got 2 issues. One is the repairs and maintenance part of the building, the other one is the sales and marketing part. You know, how you do all your revenues and so on with them. And you know, as long as under those agenda items we look at it that way, you know, it's all right. But you might question whether or not you just wanted one part of your agenda purely on the sales and marketing and commercial side of what we did.
Well, I think, you see, to my mind, if we're going to do the courthouse, sorry, Fletton House, the Hub and the QBH, the marketing should be as one.
As a discussion, it was one, yes.
as a one part. It shouldn't be, it should be an overall discussion.
Yeah, that's
because
all
the
I'm trying to do,
idea
is rather than have it
is
too
to make
busy,
money on all that.
we keep talking about the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need possibly a little time to evolve into this
Yeah,
agenda,
yeah,
don't we,
exactly.
now we-
It's going to be, it's
work
just,
overall.
it feels at the moment we're very hand to mouth, so if something comes up, we deal with it, something
Yeah.
comes up. So even if in the next 2 or 3 months this evolves into something bigger and stronger, linked up with budget for next year and all that sort of stuff, that's, we can chop and change as we see fit.
But as Terry said in the last meeting, you identified the marketing committee, the marketing we've talked about for years and we don't do anything about it. We've got to focus on it now.
And Lisa, this is not too hard on you, this transformation?
Well, it'd be extra work, but it's doable.
Yeah. But in terms of extra work, hopefully it gets down that spreadsheet that you
Well,
can use
once it's initially done, yeah. And I think under each section, like Fletton House, maybe the budget's highlighted very clearly, what we've spent so far on repairs and maintenance, and projected spend for the following month or whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you have those 3 categories under every heading, then you can look at it quite easily.
The other
Because what
thing
we're
I found-
wanting to do is compare like with
Yeah,
like, isn't it?
yeah.
So the cleaner it is, the better.
One thing I did think about these figures here, you know, it shows an enormous jump between expenditure to date and expected expenditure. That's because you expect some big lumps of expenditure. I think it'd be useful just to make a note of what those are going to count, rather than us having to ask.
Is that, are we okay to carry on? Are you happy with this?
So, yeah, just still need
We've
to
had a
propose.
proposer, we've had a seconder. Have we voted on it yet?
No,
We haven't
no.
had a
Can we vote on
proposer
it,
and a
please?
seconder, have we?
They
Who's the
have.
proposer?
Yeah, I proposed.
Ian, yeah. Second was...
Malcolm, seconder, and Lee.
What did you do?
In relative,
I thought it was you, I thought it was Tony, but
You.
I'll accept anybody.
I'm in favour.
Those in
Yeah.
favour?
Right, those in favour?
Okay.
We did this.
Yeah, we've done it again just to make sure. Right, the next one is 10403. Oh, I'm sorry, I've done this one.
10401.
Sorry, yeah, so we've got to receive the update of the events management on the 5th of November. I've gone through this and it's quite interesting. It is busy, yeah. A couple of things I brought up, Lisa, and you'll be able to tell me more about this than I know. In fact, really, there's only one thing. You know the Conquer Championship,
Yeah.
right, which is 11th of October. Would it not be better if we approached Southwark and had it moved to the centre of Oundle?
That was suggested at the
I
meeting.
thought it's in one of the bits of paper.
Yeah, it is suggested it might be. I've not read through it properly.
Hoping to involve the town more,
Well, it
Their
did just
idea,
open
they're
to
talking
involve the
about
town
it.
more, yeah.
potential use of town centre.
I'm thinking we should definitely go for it, don't you?
Well, in view of the fact that now we're not having any markets, so basically the only thing we're organising is the
Well-
Christmas market now, so it would be quite nice to have something else that we're involved in and supporting. And the Conquer Championship, since moving out of Ashton, hasn't done particularly well. Their footfall has been, even though Southwark's a nice location,
Yeah.
because it moved from Ashton to a place in Polbrook which was rubbish.
Never did
Loads of
anything
it didn't
with
do
it,
anything
no.
because it was just in a field. Then it moved to Southwark and it was quite a nice atmosphere, a nice location, but they James, his name is, reported that it's been declining, the numbers have been declining.
Well, the idea I was thinking of is if we had it in the town centre, we could have obviously where the clock tower is, that could be the ring, if you like, because there's a natural ring there where people could have the conker matches themselves. But there'd be no reason why we couldn't, at the same time, have some sort of market around the edge to make it more.
Well, if you're going to close
profitable.
the road, you may as well make it worthwhile,
Exactly,
because of the hassle of closing the road.
So we could actually advertise it at Conker Market with a craft fair or something like that.
We're talking it's never been
It's not our thing.
it's not our
No.
do, it's
No,
not
it's
our
not.
function.
I agree
And we
that.
shouldn't be talking about it like that. We should
Okay.
let the people whose do it is, function it is, say how they want it.
But if they
But I
thought
mean,
we
I
were
think if they
receptive to the
approach-
idea,
Absolutely,
they would, I
yeah.
think they would probably approach us.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if I put it out there that we would be willing to talk about it, then, something could happen. We've got a whole year, haven't we, to think about it, so.
Yeah.
But obviously that's something that'd have to be,
Yeah, because they choose who they give the money to, for instance, what their charity's going
Yeah.
to be.
But I think it would be a good idea, don't
So
you?
we're
We
gonna
brought
make
it
it
into Oundle.
well, it'll have to go to full council, won't it, if everybody's happy, but I think it's a good idea, and certainly everybody at this events meeting thought it was quite a
So
good
we're going
idea.
to put it to next full council so we can go ahead and tell them and ask them.
Well, offer,
Yeah.
offer the
So I
facilities,
mean-
yeah.
Do we need to make an approach beforehand to get some idea of terms, conditions, whatever, find out whether they are A, receptive to it,
Yeah,
their committee, and B,
what they'd expect.
what's involved?
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
they've already suggested it.
Yeah, I know they have, but
We have to look at the health and safety part though, don't
we
we?
do. There's a lot of issues. What we've had lately
I know.
at full council is we've had things going round and round where we've sat there saying, well, we ought to go back to them and get some information before we can make a decision. So I think we need to get the information before we take it to full council.
I totally agree with that. That's a very good-
Actually, as well, from what I recall, it wasn't the representative from the Conker Championships that made the suggestion. It was one of the other people in the room, I think. So yeah, I mean, he didn't. I don't think he said much at the time, but they might not be receptive to it. I don't know. So yeah, I will find out his contact
We need to
details.
explore it, I think.
Yeah.
Exploratory talks, and so we've got some figures, we've got some details to bring to council, and then we can make a decision.
If you want,
If there's a
Lisa,
decision to make.
Yeah.
Lisa, if you want to, I'm quite happy to go and talk to them and see what we can do. And
Okay.
then sort of have an idea of how we can then spread it around the town, because we're blocking the roads off, to make it into a market, maybe even a couple of children's swings or whatever, that sort of.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I've never been, you see.
Yeah, well, then
Sorry, Val,
you
go
shouldn't be
on.
saying it then.
Go on then.
I mean, I've been doing it for years with them, so...
Oh, have you? Oh,
yes,
in
absolutely
that case,
years.
Val, you do it.
They like to organise it. They've got
Right.
their own stalls and things that other
Okay.
people don't have at things.
Yeah.
And they have people like the Scouts and the Cubs all doing
That's
stalls,
brilliant. Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
And they choose their own charity, etc. So
Oh,
what
I
was going
understand
through
that.
my mind, figures-wise, is that if we were being fair to everybody that uses the marketplace, we would again be going to them saying we want the £600 fee or whatever it is that we charge.
Yeah.
Which that might be a shock to them because I think they probably had a free venue before previously.
They should do a lot more business, yeah.
But we shouldn't. I don't think we should take it off them. You see, I think
No,
we're
so,
disempowering people who are perfectly capable of doing that.
no, that's fine. I'm quite happy to say. Unfortunately, I've never been to it. I
Yeah,
keep meaning
yeah.
to go,
So
but every year there's always something
they,
else. that-
they don't need
Come
any
on.
help getting stalls because they've got all their
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
If the
people.
£600 is a lot, we can always give them a grant.
I knew you were going to say.
Did you?
I mean, just in the sense of what we put forward there, which is this concept that you say that we have a standard charge for things.
Yeah,
We don't discount from that charge, but we can make grants.
exactly.
Yeah,
And what,
so
what
I
I would
don't,
hope on this one is
Yeah.
because the town is such a bigger venue, you know, they can bring other stalls in, you know, and actually make it a bigger event. You know, we have enough space,
Yeah.
It's good for the town.
yeah,
It is,
you know.
And it's always on a Sunday, isn't it?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a Sunday.
It's usually got
Yes,
rain.
you do understand.
Sorry?
It's usually rain.
But at least they're not walking through mud.
Yeah,
That's true.
hard stand.
And with a little bit of luck, you know, they might make, as you say, more money.
Why did, just out of interest, we go a moment, why did they move out of Ashton?
Because the estate changed the way it did things effectively.
They wanted to sell the
And
houses
there
around
had
it.
been,
Well, shame.
and there had been one year when somebody set fire to a barn that was in the vicinity of the
Well, that's
competition.
social, that is, isn't it?
And that annoyed, as you can
Oh, they
imagine.
annoy me as well.
annoyed the guy.
That's one of the two buildings we could ask them.
So that's why it was banned
Yeah.
effectively. So then, as I say, it moved up
Yeah.
to Soilmec
Mm.
and then out to Southwick.
Okay.
Luckily, you haven't got a barn, Tony.
That's true.
But it wasn't anybody from the competition, and it was.
So we're going to
That's
sue
not
sue that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, to approve the Almdale Vintage Festival use of the marketplace for their annual fair on the 16th of May, along with the use of the recreation ground for parking at a cost of £600.
I'm quite happy to. Well,
Yes, Terry.
How much does it cost us to close roads and open the wreck and
Nothing really. The
Well, there's a
road
road
closure.
closure fee, isn't there?
on the form, it's I can't remember how much it is. It's a lot, but they don't ever charge us. And when I tried to close the road, for the clock repairs, she said no, it's £1,888. I said yeah, but on all your forms you put a big charge and never charge us. She said we don't charge you for events, but if it's for work to be done, then you get charged
Because you can then
Different,
pass
yes,
that
public.
cost on.
on. Yeah. So
be careful of that once they got their new authority? They're
Absolutely.
after everything they can
Yeah.
get.
Well,
But
don't
certainly
worry,
for the
this is
Christmas
next year.
market, and when we did the French market, Italian markets, there's never been a charge. So it's minimal. John goes and opens the rec gates in the morning, which takes him 5 minutes.
And do we do the road closures with volunteers?
No, they have to do that and they have to
They
apply
have
for it
to.
themselves anyway, yeah. Although apparently they closed those roads off last year and they hadn't actually applied for that part of it.
Yeah, we
They'd
have to
only
be
closed the
careful
markets
with
area, so I said to them, you have to, if you're putting a one-way system in place like we do for the Christmas market and no parking and no through road close, you have to have all of that, you have to have a TTO for all of that, an actual order, which they apparently didn't realise.
So is that on any kind of form where they can know that before?
I sent them the forms, yeah, I sent them all the forms, there's 3
Yeah, but
separate
does it
forms.
say that about the road closures, the costs and all the rest? That they
The
must
costs?
put those in place?
Does it say the cost on the forms, did you say?
No, the fact that they must do it properly and pay for the marshals and things.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
It does.
And they
got-
must
yeah.
get permission.
So they,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they can't pretend they didn't
Minimum of
know.
12 weeks, yeah.
So, I mean, because I thought I heard you say they said they didn't know.
It was
Yeah,
a
no,
one-way
they-
system they weren't aware of.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah,
is that
it's
on the
a-
forms or not?
yeah,
It will be.
Fine.
yeah. There's 3 separate forms, yeah.
Right.
And they're very, very detailed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And they must next year inform
Yeah.
council Peel of the one-way system that they're putting in place.
I don't understand why it's
You
in that.
told them off last year.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Yes, you did. Onward.
I forgot, I didn't even realise it was on. And I
You
went
didn't
and
know
said-
either, you see.
I stormed in and said, what are you doing close to the road? You're not allowed to close the road without permission. And they said, oh, we got it. I thought, oh, Christ.
You noted it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So is this for the marketplace or is it the one-way system as well?
It'd be a one-way system as
It'd
well,
be,
wouldn't it?
yeah, it'd be all of it the same as what we have for the Christmas market.
And it is the relaxation of the car park, is that what we used it before?
Yeah, as long as it's not wet. The only problem is if it's wet, yeah.
Do we close it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Not all the rooms are brand.
it does, yeah.
So, I suppose going back to the events then, presumably they went into that weekend because it says there's a big open day at the school that day, which is 350 to 500 cars in the moment.
They're aware of that, aren't they? Because we
Apparently.
discussed that, yeah. And Philip Amps said something about you've got a new coordinator, have you, something? I can't remember what he said.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Is that you by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, he said he was liaising with the school to make sure there weren't any
Marvellous.
issues.
Wonderful news. Very reassuring.
So,
So
am
are we going to approve that?
Yeah.
Would you like to
I'll propose it.
propose it?
Second it.
All those in favour? Right. 10403. Same thing, different time.
Same issue, what we don't know.
Opened on the 20th of June.
I don't think so.
How does that fit with the school?
A bit of holiday, but
The second one's we can return.
Mm,
Messy, but there we go. It's the same every year.
yeah.
So are we going to, can we have a proposer for that, please?
Propose it.
I'll second
Second. All those in favour?
She's not even looking.
Right, 105. Now, to approve the cost of £500 for bunting installation and then £500 to take it down. Terry, have we got
You're tall, you can do it.
I used to help
Sure,
do it.
sure, yeah.
Sorry?
I used to help do it, but now I provide it.
We used to get it done for free, didn't
We
we?
used to get them for free, yeah. I've no idea, to be perfectly honest. I'm assuming it's in with the
Tourism.
25 grand for tourism,
Tourism
whatever the
budget,
figure is.
Can we have a proposer, please?
So just a little one on history. Have we normally left it up for 6 months like this?
No,
No, it's
we've-
the first.
we always had a policy where we never ever left it up. We took it down between festivals. The thinking being, and I think this is right really, and that is that it marks the beginning of the festival if suddenly there's bunting.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've got so many things going on this year, that £500 up and down.
Yeah, we couldn't
£1,000
afford to do
yeah.
it, I don't think.
No, that's the reasoning behind it.
It's only
So.
that bunting begins to look a bit tired.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Constantly,
the
so-
reality is that we have to pay this money.
Yeah, but just in terms of what's triggering us taking it down in September then? What's the last event that needs it? If we could bring it down earlier, I'd feel a bit more comfortable with it.
Food festival. Is the food festival?
There's no,
The
that's
Neem
just,
Valley
there is
Festival.
something that
There
it's
is
up
something,
for,
there
I
must
can't
be.
remember what it
Neem
is.
Valley Festival, it's 12 to
Might
26.
be, yeah.
It's one of them, that's the reason it's traditionally, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So long
down
as
in
there's a festival
September.
then that's tying up with,
Mm.
you know, so we've got to do it and then, you know, I don't want us spending £1,000, you know, each time we put it up and down.
Is it the Neem Valley Festival? Is that the last one?
Yeah, that's the, finishes on the
I
26th,
don't think
isn't
we've
it?
ever done anything with that. have we?
What happens in
Well, we
town?
never do much with it. We don't. I mean, I don't know why we could take the bunting down earlier.
There's a food festival in the Barwell Park, but that's not really related.
So that's the next parish.
I mean, I can check with Emma, we
Yeah.
could try and get it down sooner.
Keeps
Actually,
it happier.
I would leave it up because if we do get the Conquer Championship, it
That's
might
November, isn't it?
That's
no,
October.
That's
Too
October,
late
we're
then.
not really
That's
needing
right.
It has to, I think we take it down in September, it's got, I mean, obviously it's got to be down for November,
Well, somebody's
Remembrance
got to put it in the
Parade.
washing machine.
It's not washable.
I know that.
But, okay, I'm having a look at the bringing it down.
Yeah,
Daryl, but
see if we can
I
narrow
don't
it
think
down a
leave
bit.
up longer than it, because it doesn't mean anything if you left it up
Well,
all
that's
year
the
round.
trouble.
It's just look like dirty washing.
It's almost once the food festival's out of the way, it's... Oh, the
18th
International
of
Festival, isn't it? 18th of July.
I mean,
Right.
we'll be having people saying, let's keep it up until Christmas. If
Yeah,
we're not
save money,
careful.
and then when it puts the
Save
lights
money.
up, can take it
Literally.
down.
So you could put
Is
lights
there
in the
a
bunting.
resolution to approve it, subject to the fact that that date being changed?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check the date, see if we can
Okay,
bring
well,
it
I'll
down early.
propose that then.
Second,
Terry
Terry
second.
there. All those in favour? I like this meeting, it's going quick. Right, now, this is to, the next one is to receive an update on the courthouse 10601. Now, we've all read this, so we know what it's about. It should, I think, go straight to the full council for approval after we've got
We're
two
talking
or
about the courthouse
three.
roof at the back.
Got to do the courthouse roof.
Oh, sorry, I thought we were
Yeah,
just...
sorry,
I didn't see anything on the courthouse roof.
So the courthouse roof is extremely disappointing, the timing of doing it. It's going to go the whole winter without us fixing it. If it was my house, so I think
It's on the chart.
And when I approached them about putting tarpaulin over it, they said it's impossible. They said they can do temporary repairs,
Yeah.
which they quoted between £600 and £800, and that's to patch the big areas up. But yeah, not what. One of the reasons is they can't do it during winter because the temperature has to be a certain temperature for doing Collie Western.
So are we going to go for a temporary repair then? It seems crazy to leave a hole in the roof.
It does.
Yeah.
So it costs more than £600 and £800.
And the other problem is that we're having had the bats check and make sure there's no bats in there. We don't want to let the buggers in, do we?
No, I know, yeah.
And that happens in March,
Yeah.
breeding season.
I've lost track of this now
Right, go on.
in terms of what figure we're talking about. Not to do the repair, to do the proper
The
job.
proper job. We've gone. I've asked it was the cheapest quote in the end,
Right, okay.
because
That was the 26 or something.
no, 22. It was, and it's the Macrone one, the one that's done lots of work round Oundle.
Okay.
That fourth quote that I went for, I've chased and chased and chased and chased, and they've just not come
Well,
through
they've
with
got
it.
one in,
No.
so-
So, and then the one you okayed was the middle quote, which was 26. I've chased and chased and chased him to try and pin him down for a date, and he's just not coming back to me, even though he was on the high street the other day working. So I just said to Emma, if we don't get somebody booked,
Yeah.
we will. They
I
will.
agree.
run out.
Right.
So I've gone for Macrone. They've come back and said early spring. We'll get it sorted.
Does this mean we should have a proper health check, a proper survey of the building so we aren't caught out like this before?
I think so. Yes.
Berries can do that, can't they?
I don't know. From what I understood last time we had it, we had a drone up there looking around, didn't we? It was a few years ago.
I think Emma said the quality of the pictures wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
The
So
problem up there, I think, is that there are so many nooks and crannies that the drone didn't. It's not very helpful. You need somebody. You need the old-fashioned way. Somebody
Yeah.
And it's quite
scouring
hard
the
to,
roof.
yeah, it's quite hard to know which bits belong to who, because there's all sorts of
Yeah.
things added on or latched on.
So
On
possibly
the
the time
courthouse
to do
roof.
it is when this chap's up doing the proper repair.
Okay.
So at that point, to do as a survey of the
Yeah.
rest, what we need to do in terms of preventative maintenance.
Mm.
But I think, in the short term, we need to get this temporary repair done.
Do we need a proposal for that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we propose to spend up to £800?
Yep.
Is £800, is that £800 enough?
that was the quote that came in last time. Yeah.
Actually, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
you
Proposed it.
you propose it.
Roy seconded it.
Right, all those in favour?
And as long as the temporary repair gets done before March.
And not-
The whole point doing it is to get it in.
Next week.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you can't be telling us it's January to do the temporary repair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
So, my apologies for that. It's now to receive the report on the courthouse fire alarm. Obviously, this needs to go to the full council, but it's something we have to get done.
Yeah.
So, shall we recommend that the full council do this?
Yes.
Well, we recommend we're going to take quotes to the council.
Yes. Yeah.
3 quotes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's that done.
Where's the money from the front for that?
I know. You've got to find it for us.
Oh, thank you.
Today's challenge.
Right. I'm not quite. I don't quite understand 107. They want to take the varnish from the stage area of the Queen Victoria Hall.
It's slippy when they're performing.
Well, they don't need to take it off. All they need to do is slightly sand it down, which can be done by anybody, right? And then put a rough coat on it to stop it from slipping, because you can get a non-slip varnish now.
Yeah. But my view is that we all ought to ask the other regular users to.
Nobody else has moaned about it.
But no, that's not good enough. They might not have moaned because they
didn't think
they
it was
like
possible
it,
to
they
do.
prefer it as it is.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yes,
They're the
yeah,
only easy
take your point.
I mean, I did suggest, you can get those little socks with the little sticky pads on the bottom. I suggested they get those, but he didn't seem that keen on that idea.
But if you can get non-slip varnish,
That you get for children,
they can
yeah.
do that.
Oh, yeah.
It still needs to be protected, it's full.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
what I'm
does,
saying.
yeah.
So you can rub it down, and get some of the slippy varnish off, and then you can actually paint it with a non-slip varnish nowadays.
Okay.
I thought
We had agreed all that back in 2014.
Wonderful.
You were there then. You were there then. It came up then. We had Gilbert and Sullivan and Oates came to see us,
Yes.
and we talked about, because a whole load of stuff came up. I mean, I've raised it several times since, whether in fact the lifting tackle that we talked about at that time was ever checked, whether we got safety certificates on it all, and whether it's the right lifting weight and all the rest of it. All that stuff came up when I think Councillor Fitzgerald was chairing Estates, or it might have even been Councillor King before Anne Fitzgerald. But I remember it coming up, and we discussed it in great detail, and we talked then about we would have a non-slip surface on there,
And never did it.
and it looks like it's never ever happened. And they've obviously now been wondering all this time where we are with doing it, and they've raised it again. So I think
Well, this actually can quite easily be done by John.
Aspiration.
It's not.
Yeah.
You don't need a professional to do this. It's literally just you can get a light sanding machine, which we've got. I mean, I've got loads at the shop, and because that's what we do. And it just needs light sanding down, taking the top off, re-varnishing it with a non-slip varnish, which you can go from to B and Q and get.
I think we should still ask the other users.
Okay.
Oh, I agree
Because
with
there
that,
may be
yeah.
reasons
Yeah.
why they like
Check.
it as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to please
maybe
everybody.
something
haven't you?
there as to
Yes,
why it
you
wasn't
see.
done
And
previously.
there may be, you see.
Is there any dancing going on there? Because that might be the
Not on
reason.
the
Not
Well,
on
they
the
do,
stage.
yeah, they
There's all
dance.
sorts on the stage.
Yes, they do.
And we have all sorts of
Yeah, of course
performances.
they
We
dance on
have,
it.
during the Festival of Music and Drama, we have dramatic performances on that stage.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking specifically dancing, because obviously you put a non-slip varnish on, it's very difficult for
Yeah,
people
there's
to actually
dances
move
with the
across it.
pantomimes
Yeah,
every
yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So it might be that reason.
Yes, it
It's
might
not been
might
done.
well be a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I think we should.
Check it
consult.
out, shall we?
Yeah,
See if you don't
okay.
mind. Thank you very much. Right, Christmas market update. We had the volunteer paper go round. I know Tony, Malcolm and Ian weren't here at the time, so would you like to present it to those three?
Malcolm's already filled his name in.
Good,
Yeah.
great.
I'm not doing any time, it doesn't have to be that time.
That's fine. No,
So,
that's fine. So they're the slots I've got left so far.
I'll check my-
It's
my
only
report.
2 hours of your time,
Yeah.
and it'll be
I-
such.
are you
I
going to
can't-
give us an update on the market itself, how you're organising it and so on?
What would you like to know?
It's Hope Chandler that we do it for.
No,
Good.
not this year.
Can I just say that I may have to go up. My sister's got lung cancer. She's waiting for the date for her, which is going to be any moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no,
all I will get is a phone call and I shall be on
You
the
have to go,
train.
yeah. No, I'll put you in available.
So I don't want to put myself down
No,
for
no, no,
anything.
yeah.
There's no other corporation or corporate body that's involved in, like Hope Chandler was last year.
No, the only company we've got coming who are bringing two characters, a company from Rushden that do soft play areas for children. They've got like a play place, and they are just having their characters wandering around while they've
That's fine.
got a stall, that's
Okay,
it.
That's fine, fine.
But
problem.
yeah, no.
Who's going to do Father Christmas?
There's a chap called John Round. He does it for the preschool. He's done it for various other places and done it for us in the past, apparently. So
Presumably you've checked and.
Yeah.
Very well, yeah.
The amazing man with the beard at Father Christmas is the postman. You know, the tall
Oh, I know
lad.
what you mean,
He's got a smashing beard now, hasn't he? He really has.
oh, Neil,
Yeah, that's it. I
Postman,
never remember
yeah.
his name.
No.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that then, gentlemen, ladies?
Yeah.
Update on Snipe Meadow.
Still still where we were before. Nothing's going to be done until, same situation with the roof really. The weather has to be improved. And we've booked the chap who we've decided, well, he was the only one that did it. And he's the same, going to be coming as early as he can in the spring
Okay.
to start the work.
Do you know if we've managed to source any funds from?
Emma's just in the process of doing
She's
it.
still
She's
doing that.
applying to Augean, is it?
Georgian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that a product that's going to be good for 40 years only gets 12 months warranty.
Mm.
I was a bit surprised at
It's
that.
extraordinary.
Well, that will be on the workmanship
Yeah.
rather than the product itself.
Yeah.
And have we looked, is Emma looking at maybe transferring any 106 money over to it?
I think so, isn't she?
There is 106 money which council available, which council have said is for Snipe Meadow.
That's
Yeah.
good.
46,000.
Yeah, we've had that,
46,000.
we've
She's
had
just
that.
applying to Augean for the balance. Yeah.
Fine, okay. Right, update on St Cuthbert's
Sorry,
Drive. Sorry.
Can we sort of publicise spring 2020 as an ambition of when things will start to be installed, just to get people thinking again?
I would have thought, I thought Rebecca had put something out there
Yeah, she
already.
might have done. She might have done.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
sorry to
check
be
with her.
venal again, but what if we don't get a grant?
It's still our ambition. Nothing wrong with a good ambition.
You've been watching too many politicians
Nothing wrong with a
recently.
good ambition.
It is, isn't it? It's like 40 hospitals.
You can't quote all of the things you heard about Rossbridge.
I know, honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
To get it completed.
It'll be completed by a spring 1 year. We
It'll be
hope.
done by Christmas.
You'll come up with the right words, I'm sure you will.
2096.
You don't have to say which one. Glorious is like the way they handle it, yeah.
Right, now we've got the next one, which is 110, St Cuthbert's Play Area.
Completed and it's
Completed.
lovely.
Does it?
Yeah,
I haven't
it
been
does.
down
Is
there
it
yet.
done?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Have you tested all the equipment?
Big notion saying councillors must stay off this equipment. No, but it looks lovely. It looks like the green hay,
Mm.
you know, or straw.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like little particles all knitted together, you know, so it does look, and it sponges well, but how it copes with leaves and all the slime and grime is
We'll
really
find out.
the challenge, yeah.
And the recreation ground, that should have been finished now.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sorry, my apologies.
Will that go, will your committee publicise that?
Yes.
A
We
bit
will.
of good
What
news
we've done
found.
for you, Arnold.
Yes, we will.
Well done.
Have
Thank
we got
you.
any photos of it?
Not yet. I would. It's been my aim
Might
this
try and
week
have
to
one
go
tomorrow
down
morning.
there and not had a
If
chance.
it's looking, it was looking gloomy this morning when I went past the wreck, but if it's nice tomorrow.
Be nice to have a nice backdrop to it, wouldn't it? Nice blue
I saw
sky.
their transit van going across. I've never seen a transit van move over the grass that fast.
Really?
It's about 80 miles an hour. It's fantastic. I suppose. Oh, they're professional. But I think we'll stop getting bogged. It was very cool. I was impressed.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, so that's those two. Receive an October action plan and progress report.
That's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're extremely short now, isn't it?
It was a little one this time actually from last.
Yeah.
feels like we've been let down with not enough action. Make some more points.
The wonderful day will come when there's nothing on it. Can you imagine?
No. Can't, to be fair.
But Legionnaires were all right with that one now.
Yeah, that's all sorted.
Yeah.
They came and did that. I've not had the report back from them yet, but they've not phoned me shouting and saying,
Yeah.
close the building down, so that's good news.
Just on a sanity check, we've done all of our premises, have they?
Yeah.
Did that include the John Strong Centre?
Oh, no. Check.
So I'm not sure what risk there is at the James Strong Centre, but it's normally that air conditioning units, isn't it? that,
Yeah.
run it, but
Jones Strong Centre isn't on the list we had at the beginning.
No, that's a good point.
So that wants adding, yeah?
There's an evolution. Just happening.
Okay.
and the French market, we told them we couldn't do it anymore with, and we've been approached by the Italian now.
It was on.
Oh, no, they both know.
Yeah.
I've emailed the Italian and he didn't reply.
Oh,
And he's not paid his bill either from the last time.
that was like a hold goal on our part there, wasn't it?
Mm.
Tell him to sod off before he paid the bill.
The French
would it
market
be better
lady.
to have had the money and then tell them?
Well, I didn't know at the time because he
talk
normally
about next
pays on the
year.
day.
So how much is the,
Ooh, it's about £200, I think.
Oh, let's send the sheriffs in.
well, it's quite
I thought
interesting.
you were going to
It's
say your carpet boy, didn't
It's,
you?
I think it's £25
No, no, no.
store.
Well, it's
Yeah, he only had about 6 stores, didn't he?
No, but it's just on the closing the town centre off, we charge £600 to everybody else, and the Italians were having it for 200.
Mm.
Kind good negotiators, aren't they? Yeah.
No, I think that's the standing charge that had been.
Yeah,
been
historically,
charged before,
well, we're
yeah.
not losing much by telling them we can't
No.
carry on.
But the French lady was really upset. She said she'd really enjoyed coming, and hopefully sometime in the future, if it builds
She
up
was
So
again.
the Italian guy, is he based in the UK or based in Italy?
On Thursday.
Pardon?
Lithuania.
Bedford,
Sorry?
Bedford, isn't it?
Bedford, yeah.
So if we get his address then we can trace it, can't we?
Oh yeah, well Karen's on it.
He's got friends.
That's it.
No,
Yeah.
Karen,
but we
accounts are on
want
it.
Drive round.
Listen, I have to tell you, the Russian mafia are a lot stronger than the Italian mafia.
Put that to the test.
Well, I hope we don't get them around as well,
They're already here.
probably. I don't think they're interested in the market.
Right, ladies and
Right.
gentlemen, any other business? 113. Can I go around the table? Terry?
I've no other business, but I want to come back to the repairs that we're having done to the courthouse roof before Christmas. Tony suggested that we get a survey done of the roof
Yeah.
later on. Why don't we try and get a survey done when they're up there doing the repair, so that if we want something else doing, when they come back in
2020.
Yeah, very sensible.
next year.
Good point.
They can schedule it in as well.
That's good thinking, councillor.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Look
Can you
back.
put that in the minutes, please?
Little sticker.
Blue Peter back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lisa, have you got any other things to say?
Yes, I have. I've forgotten what it is now. Trees. Do we want any more trees?
Yes.
I always think you should have more trees.
What do you mean by that?
It's something to think.
Normally we want any more trees checking or felling or so on, but we still have planting now.
Is it the people from...
It's Sue
Bexley
Davis
Court.
from East Northants. She'd been approached from the Woodland Trust and tcv.org.co or .uk. Do we know of any organisations we work with that might be interested? Please spread the word. So I think they must be offering to plant trees in various
They need to
areas.
be protected trees.
Yeah, sure thing you're on, please.
I don't know, but Emma's just handed it to me
We
yesterday.
have 100 of them on Fletton Fields.
I thought you were going to say along the 605.
Yeah.
Put them back, the ones
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
chopped down.
Yeah.
Oh, now that is a good point.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah, very good point. I've forgotten that opportunity.
PGR.
Yeah, the trees at the back of PGR, you know, if nothing else, those along the A605, the
Need to
high
be
rise people
replanted.
chopped down, you know, they
To
should be
replant
replaced.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, so this came in and Emma's just put, I'm not sure that we need more trees, however maybe Estates Committee might like to give it some thought,
We have.
Yeah.
so,
So just on the next one along that line, I think we'd already agreed at the back of the new graveyard, we're having a wall up and
We are, yeah.
trees.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to put some sort of hedge, and we said we didn't want a hedge because maintaining it a lot.
Yeah.
So trees at the back of the cemetery were opted, but David Wilson said we put a nice wooden fence, straight wall along it. So I think the wooden fence.
Yeah,
if it's
all right, so we
painted
don't need
properly,
any down
will be
there.
fine.
Just the other one for you to be thinking about,
Which
was
could be a coffee night.
Philip Rose
Huge cross
asked,
between a wooden fence
if we had
and a
any
wall.
ideas of the piece of land that is not developing by the river. And again, you know, trees down there might actually protect the bank.
Are we talking about the Philip Rose part?
Yes, the bit that he isn't developing, the other piece of his land.
Yeah, you have to be a bit careful. I mean, I live down on the riverbank
Yeah.
effectively, and one of the problems that they have is that they dredge the river because it's canalised,
Yes.
and if there were a lot of trees, it would be very difficult. and it's already more grown up than it used to be, and it's being neglected to some extent because they can't get to it. So I think we have to get really good advice about that before we push that one.
Well, I've not looked into it at all. I don't know what they're offering, but Emma just said, just asked the question, really, do we want any more trees?
They're called the Conservation Volunteers. David Attenborough is their deputy president.
All right.
And they've got 350,000 trees to give away to community groups.
Right.
So
How many? 350,000?
we have to take them all. But, well,
I tell you what, there is a really good site at the back of St Peter's Road, on Potterstock Road. That would accommodate at what, 1,000 trees?
Could we
no,
not?
I could get 20 or 30,000 on that.
Could we not involve Transition Oundle in this?
Yeah.
Because they must want millions of trees putting up to save the planet.
Because I think there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'd like to see trees along the wreck fence.
The more the better.
You know, because I think that would look nice.
No,
You can't, it's
can't.
visibility, isn't it?
you've got to have
You've got
visibility.
visibility
Oh,
around
of
the
course,
thing.
yeah.
That's why we can't do the wildflower sowing
That's
down
right.
that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, yeah,
You've got to
I
have
understand.
visibility for child protection.
No. And, thanks very much, Rob. Right, so is there anything else?
Well, just one, sorry, going around the table, just one that wasn't on the agenda, but we just need to think about, is this notice board thing that kept popping up. And it's a thought I had about whether or not we've actually got too many notice boards that we're trying to maintain. So the last meeting we were talking about replacing them, weren't we? You know, there was a request that they were in bad state of repair and they needed replacing.
All
The
of them,
Queen
just
Victoria Hall
all.
one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the one at the car park isn't brilliant, is it?
But it should have just had an overhaul, because the one in the wreck, the one down the cemetery and the one in the co-op, we asked John and Nobby to paint them and refurb them, really.
Okay, right.
So they should have been
it's not
refurbed by
appropriate
now.
then to have
That's
this
just Queen
conversation.
Victoria Hall.
So it's just the Queen Victoria Hall, which we've got quotes to replace, but we've not got the budget at the moment.
Okay, maybe it is the right time to ask
Seems
that question.
At the
You know,
moment.
do we need all the notice boards? You know, when you know, like a real thought about, you know, what is the purpose of them in our modern time?
Well, I read them.
Lots of people.
Yes, it has come up. We have
Well, then I
one.
don't do Facebook either, so.
Yeah.
Is
Nor do I.
is it worth putting a notice on them asking people that read them to tell people they read them?
And if you get no,
Almost
nobody,
a stupid thing.
yeah.
Say, you know, you'll get a free cup of tea at the hub or something or other, and people will rush up there. And if
But
no
it
one
would be
rushes up,
interesting to put a
then
notice on
no
it,
one
because
knows.
then we're going to take this notice board down.
Yeah, maybe that's like this.
Well, all I know, you know, with the one that we don't own, didn't
Yes,
own,
over
that
the
was
road.
really tatty,
Yeah.
we've got quite a few people moaned about that. When are you going to put it back up? And we're like, well, it's not ours, and
Yeah.
the owner of the building didn't want it on there, so, but I don't know.
I think there's probably a group of people that like them, who walk past them daily, regularly, and would use
Yeah,
it.
I think it's useful.
But just as we're having a super duper boardwalk, are there not super duper modern notice boards that we won't have to
Yeah.
do again
Oh,
in
yeah,
5
yeah,
years?
yeah.
But they're
See, those ones I think are aluminium, aren't they? And they, well, you can pull that middle handle now and people can just stick things in. You don't need to open it with a key, which is what's caused some of the damage. They've faded and they just do look tatty, but some of the modern ones are supposed to be fade resistant and a lot more durable.
I think it looks tatty outside QBH as a dustbin, is the way they've been cemented back in by, I don't know, whoever repairs the pavements, Northampton County Council, actually.
Yeah.
That's disgraceful. Anyway,
We'll go on forever. I know we did talk about taking that post box out of outside of QBH, didn't we? QBH or the bazaar, you know, the thing that the postman used to keep his sack in. Like it's a cube on a
yeah.
pole.
right.
They don't use them anymore. And they've just left it there. Anyway, this is far off the agenda. Carry on.
Nothing.
Malcolm. Roy.
Yes, a couple of items. On Armistice Day on the Monday, on behalf of the British Legion, I visited the cemetery and placed one of our wooden crosses on each war grave. I think there were 13 if I remember correctly. Now, most of the churchyard or graveyard there at the cemetery is in a very good condition, but we've got areas where it's overgrown. To get to a couple of graves, I was standing almost up to my waist in brambles to stand at the foot of the grave to lay out wooden cross. So I think there's one or two areas where we do need to trim them up. I don't know how they come to get neglected, because the boys do an excellent job on the majority of that site. We do just need to tidy them up and maintain that, so that we can get to all the graves. Also, we've got one or two little hedge plants that were put in, I think, some years ago, and they're now hedges and bushes that are now growing right in front of some of the gravestones, covering up the inscription on the gravestone. I could probably look through my notes and tell you exactly which graves they are, but there's something that they weren't specifically war graves. It was, I noticed that on other graves when I was looking for the war graves, trying to find which row and column I was in, couldn't read the names on the gravestones. The other thing is this church wall that I mentioned last week. I don't think most people have been
You mean
copied
by
on
the
this.
side of where Philip Rose lives?
Not down that
We're talking
side.
that
No,
side.
somebody's gone off on a tangent
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Now, the bit that was reported to me was the bit on New Street. There's a short bit of church wall there, right near where the entrance is and the footpath goes into the church,
Yeah.
along by Philip Rose's wall. Just on that corner, I had a look yesterday, and definitely there are some signs of large cracks appearing between that opening, that entrance where you got like I call them kissing gates, but it's something to stop people cycling through there at speed. Between that and where they've now hung a banner over the wall about some event at the church, between those two there are some massive great cracks in the wall, and a builder told me that, you know, it's likely to fall predominantly into the churchyard, but if it does, it's likely to bow in the middle and also fall into the road. And he's concerned about people passing by, if this goes, that it might fall on them.
Do you know who's responsible? Is it we are, or is it the church?
Well, that's why I've been asking the
We've
question.
discussed it, we
Yes.
didn't know.
We're not certain. We need to find out who owns it. I mean, I copied in Stephen Webster, the canon at the church, and Emma, and copied Neville in, because Neville normally knows these things. He knows what's listed and not listed, and he knows who owns what predominantly in the town. Neville is going to go down with me and have a look at some time, because he's been down taking pictures, but he's uncertain at the moment as to exactly where it is. I'll have to show him, and exactly who owns what down there. So it's something I'm following up on, but I think we need to find out if we've got liability for it. We've probably got it on our insurance, on our public liability insurance. So I thought it was worth checking our insurance documents with WPS and find out.
Years ago, one of the councillors did a very, very, very comprehensive survey of every wall in Amble, because he was quite keen to get them listed. So somewhere in our archive, unless it's been destroyed, would be his piece of work that he did for the walls.
How many years ago?
More than 10, I would say.
And what was the name of
because he's
the
now dead,
councillor?
but Philip the butcher did the survey.
What's his surname?
Is it Trendle?
No, not Trump.
Wells.
That's it, yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Brudnell. Yeah, Brudnell. I couldn't think of the name. Philip Brudnell did it.
I think
he
Philip Butcher
was
sounds much better.
It won't come up on the search though.
I know.
No. So try. I know he did it because he and I walked quite a lot of the walls to look at them and see whether they were worth listing or not.
That's a high wall, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So say 8 foot high or something like that.
It's about that. 6 at least.
Yeah.
It's a small wall, wasn't it?
It's
All
the one
banner
next to the
on.
gate, isn't it?
The one with the
Yeah,
banner
we're
on,
talking
yeah.
about the one on the road, it's not that high.
Five or six, maybe.
The one on the opposite side of the road to the Great Hall.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's about 6 foot, I would have thought.
Yeah, the high walls are alongside Philip Rose's property.
Yeah, I just said it was about 6.
I mean, they've thrown a banner over that wall now, and that shouldn't do a lot of damage to it, but we've also got a road sign on that corner, right by where the bad bit is.
So how dangerous did your friend say it is? Because now we know about it,
Yeah, we're liable.
we're duty bound to do something about it,
That's
even if it's
exactly
not
why
ours.
I keep sending the emails,
Yes,
yeah.
please don't walk near this wall.
Yeah,
No,
Or
the
something.
interesting thing
he's told the two guys who reported it to me have both told their children, when you go down New Street, cross over and walk on the Great Hall side of the road. So, you know, I mean, I don't think it's
their
in,
kids will be kicking the wall every time they go past it.
it's not in danger of, you know, falling down tonight, but I mean, I think it needs attention before too
Sooner
long.
rather than later.
We get a winter frost into it, where it's all cracked and crumbling now,
Yeah.
it will go once it gets some more.
Moisture.
Is
The
it,
fact- the
is it
fact-
lime or cement?
To be old lime.
It will be old, right? I mean, that wall could be as old as the church. You might be looking at something that's 1,000 years old.
It's probably quite a lot of years since
And it's no doubt
anybody...
listed, so you're probably talking about listed building people
Consent
involved.
before you can touch
You
it.
need Lloyd.
Yeah, I don't think
involved
it
in-
got listed, but that's why I think we need to look.
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know
Definitely.
whether it is, whether somebody like Lloyd, who deals with listed properties at District Council, needs to come down and have a look and get involved. And that will also affect who can touch it, because you have to have approved contractors touching listed properties. You can't just have anybody go and start
Please don't
slapping
say
some
that
cement.
we're responsible for it in that case.
No, well, I was just
Well-
thinking that somebody's now thrown something over it.
Yeah.
They may have had a stepladder leaned against it or something.
Yeah.
And suddenly, after about 40 years, somebody's touched it,
Yeah,
effectively.
it's only a canvas banner that's hanging
Yeah,
over the
but
wall.
even so.
And they've thrown, I went in the churchyard and had a look. They've got some long strings, and on the other end of the string is a couple of pieces of wood, and they've thrown a couple of them over. So they've just chucked those over the top and pulled it
But
to
you
get
never
this
know
thing.
how little needs to be done to it
Yeah.
to make
But
it...
You can't see what's wrong with it inside.
Isn't absolutely urgent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's
and a
a
lot of people use that corner.
do it.
Sorry?
listed building site here and it's not on it. Other walls are, but it's not on a
Yeah.
listed
Right.
building, so.
So it's not listed then.
Well,
Yeah, I
not.
But
suspect.
if we
On that
can,
wood.
if you speak to Emma tomorrow, please, if you can do it, mark it with a bit of urgency,
Yeah,
just because we think it might be
Well,
dangerous.
you said the sad thing about this is Roy raised it over a week ago, didn't he? We shouldn't have to be talking about it here.
Mm.
Yeah, and if it's not listed, we must set the wall down and
Yeah.
open.
Well, unfortunately, I think Emma immediately acted. All credit to Emma, she did immediately act. The boys went down and had a look, but I think something went wrong in translation. And they looked at the wrong wall
Did that, I think Paul
and
did,
advised Philip Rose to get his wall
yeah,
mended.
I think that's what's happened, because
Yeah.
Neville told me to go down and have a look at Philip Rose's. I
Yeah.
looked at Philip Rose's,
Yeah.
but I didn't look at that side.
Yeah. Well, Neville's now been round the whole lot because he thought if that one's got a problem, maybe another section has as well. So Neville's now got photos and video, I think, of all the walls all the way around St Peter's.
Right, so whatever you do.
Don't tell Neville that.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Can I just,
But I've arranged to meet him on site anyway.
No, that's a good
Are we-
idea.
are we going
Neville
round
will know.
again?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
yes,
must
I've done.
Well, it's feedback. People keep coming to me saying how dreadful the cycle racks are.
Do you know, I tell you what,
I pass this on because
Well,
it's
you-
only people who wear lycra, really, that, apart from you, I've seen you using one. But they can't be used by children, they can't be used by people who've got shopping baskets on the front, etc. So it does limit their use massively. And what people are doing is chaining their bikes to the
wooden
uprights, the wooden
yeah.
uprights.
I saw one of those
Or,
the other day.
one
yeah.
very enterprising man had put his up the full length of the bar on the top, which prevented anybody else from using it anyway.
Okay.
Funny enough, I today
So-
had somebody come and tell me that they didn't, and he's a biker, he rides regularly,
Yeah.
and he says, you know, nobody ever uses them.
No, they don't.
We're talking about Duck End
Yeah.
Road, that's something,
Yeah.
that end of the road, nobody uses those at
Yeah.
that end.
So I just mention it
No,
because
no,
I
it's
think
good
we
feedback.
ought to know that actually they're not
Don't
anything
do it
like,
again.
don't do it again.
That one out there's very good, the one with the car. My bike's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and
But
dry.
that's a more conventional style of bike rack.
Yeah.
But all we've got in the marketplace is yet more clutter on the marketplace, where we should be removing
Well,
stuff.
I know I use them.
I know.
I use them frequently.
But
But I hardly,
You're about the only
hardly ever manage to get the bike on there without cutting myself something. Well, it's like underneath the saddle of the bike, you know, the rust on it comes through every time.
Well, I've got a great. When I can find one, I'm going to borrow. I know where it is. I'm going to borrow somebody's Shetland pony, and I'm going to lash it to the.
Can you wear the sheriff's outfit?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay,
Can I just,
Ian.
a quick question, the playground at the rec, is it open at the moment or is it shut? There's a
It
big-
should be open.
There's a big orange gate across one of the gates, that I think was on. when
Yeah,
they
John
were
said
doing-
today he was going to go back this afternoon to have a look because it had been closed. There is still one thing that needs doing because they found some bearings had gone when they dismantled something to repair it, so those bearings are on order. So whether they're keeping it shut because of that,
Okay, so I won't move the
no,
orange gate.
I would leave it for now. Yeah,
Okay,
they've probably
that's fine.
kept it until everything's
That's
complete.
fine, just wanted to check.
okay, if nobody else has anything else to say, I think we can end the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming.